Welcome to the Hillsdale College Online Courses Podcast. I'm Jeremiah Regan, Executive Director of Online Courses.
And I'm Juan Davalos, the Director of Marketing for Online Courses. And we are back here with a new course today. We are starting the David story, Shepherd, Father, King. This is a course on the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel, and we're going to start with Lecture 1 today, which is an introduction by Dr. Arn.
In his introduction, Dr. Arn introduces two of the themes that Professor Jackson emphasizes throughout the course, politics and family. On the politics side, we see the transition of the Israelites being ruled by judges who are accountable to God to a king who is accountable to God. But some problems come along with the transition to monarchy, and Dr. Arn hints at those, and Professor Jackson explains them throughout the course. We also see the importance and the risks of fatherhood. We see examples of good and poor fatherhood throughout this story.
It's such an interesting course because of that, touching on those two subjects. I mean, for me personally, politics and family, I find those very interesting, and Dr. Jackson does a great job of bringing those out. If you're interested, if you like the content that you're listening to, I encourage you to go to hillsdale.edu/course. That's hillsdale.edu/course to get all of our courses. We have more than 40 courses that are all free. Dr. Jackson teaches two other courses, one on called the Genesis story and the Exodus story, where he does a close reading of those two books of scripture. But without further ado, let's turn to Dr. Arn to introduce this course today, the David story.
Hello, welcome to this online course on King David of the Hebrew Bible. My name is Larry Arn. I'm the president of the college, and my business is to introduce this course. It will need less introduction if you've watched our earlier course on the book of Genesis, also taught by the great Justin Jackson. He's an English prof here. He's a student of great words. He's a lit professor. He took us through the book of Genesis, which is full of wonder and awesomeness. And now we're a later part of the Bible, and not very much later, King David, the greatest of the Hebrew kings. David is a figure in the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, we Christians call it. And it's different from the New Testament. It is, however, part of the same thing. It's part of the revelation of the providence of the Almighty and eternal God and the Creator God for human beings. And he appears first as the chooser of a people. He is right from the beginning the great God, but when he chooses Abraham, an ancestor of David, to make a contract with him, he says, I will be your God and you will be my people, and this will be a blessing to all the peoples on the face of the earth. But these Jews, these Hebrews, are chosen to be a people, and people persist over time through families. And come to find out, the Hebrew families are not any more perfect than other families. Indeed, the Hebrew people, they're the chosen people, but that turns out to be a tough station to hold. They undergo a lot in preparation for them to be the seedbed from which comes the Messiah. That's both Jews and Christians think that. So they have to be governed because they're a people. Christianity, by the way, doesn't have a government given to it in the sense of an earthly government. My kingdom is not of this world, says Jesus. But the Jews have a government. I will be your God and you will be my people, and this will be a blessing to all the peoples on the earth. It's for everybody, but there's this particular chosen people. How are they going to remain together and govern themselves? And at first, not very formal. They have judges, and then they ask for kings. And God doesn't think that's a very good idea, but he lets them do it. And first he appoints Saul, who didn't work out, and then David, the greatest of them, whom, of course, Saul tried to kill. You find yourself smack in the middle of all of the problems of monarchy. Monarchy, that word comes from two Greek words that mean rule of one. But which one is to rule? And the typical way is hereditary monarchy. Your kids do it. Your sons do it, really. And let's say David was very great, and he was very great. He was the most beloved of God. He and his son Solomon were the most successful of the Hebrew kings. more size, more money, more security, more people than any others. But then both David and Solomon got old, and somebody has to succeed them. And that means their families are involved. Justin's going to tell you a story, one of the most famous family stories in history. And come to find out, there's trouble all along. So it's a story of tribulation. And if you step back from that story a minute, it's a curiosity, and it's like human life itself. It's the workings of perfect and eternal providence upon changeable, fallen, limited people. The claim of the Bible, as I read it, is that this story has to be worked out in human history. First with the chosen people, and then with the arrival of the Son of God amongst the people prepared for the purpose of being his host. So all these problems of family, Solomon, he was worshiping other gods because his wives got him doing it. And he never really gave that up. For all his wisdom, and he was famous for his wisdom, he did very foolish things in regard to that. And David did before him too. And David's sons, they're running him around the desert trying to kill him. And so it's like if you read Shakespeare's history plays, they're really awesome, and they're, about British history mainly. And you find out that this glorious nation, which I'm attached, because Winston Churchill and my wife both come from that nation, it had nothing but trouble for most of its history. And American history is like that too. I think American history is sort of like the history of the Hebrew people. Touched with the divine, but still human. So I hope you enjoy it. I think you'll find Justin a magnificent teacher. He's one of the best I've ever seen. And we'll all be wiser when we're finished. And thank you for taking this course.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Hillsdale College Online Courses Podcast. If you want to continue learning about the David story or other topics, please visit hillsdale.edu/course. There, you will find over 40 free online courses including Ancient Christianity, the Genesis story, classic children's literature, and many more. The courses include additional readings, study guides, fully produced videos, and you can chat with your fellow students on a dedicated forum. Upon completing a course, you will also get a certificate. All our courses are free because we believe that what you'll learn will enrich your life and that a virtuous citizen is the best defense for liberty. So pursue the education necessary for freedom and happiness at hillsdale.edu/course today. That's hillsdale.edu/course. Thanks for listening.